US elections are an expensive exercise, a very expensive exercise. But just who pays the parties and just how, even if we could safely guess just why, just what could be the sourcing, what are the laws and regulations, what is the transparency, and not least, how much money could we be talking about? By some estimates, close to $20 billion will be spent in this presidential election, much of it what is being called dark money, with no information on the source of the money or the identity of the donors. The rules set limit to contributions: $3,300 per individual for a candidate, $41,300 to a party. But these have been overtaken by new arrangements.
There is a group of organizations that do not have to report their donors because they're considered social welfare or educational associations, nonprofits. They're allowed to have anonymity with their spending as long as they don't spend more than 50% on politics. So that has become a vehicle for some, not all, for some to give money unlimited without revealing who they are.
These super political action committees, or the super PSCs, are not allowed to spend on a candidate, but they may spend on behalf of a candidate. That could be a blurry distinction, as Dr. Rayla Raja tells media at the Foreign Press Center in Washington, D.C.
What's increasingly happening is the candidate or the political parties will signal to these groups, this is our campaign message, and these are the people we are targeting. And so they will put up on their website some information that is very helpful to these outside groups. And it's perfectly legal as long as you're making public to everyone. But the ones who will use this information are these campaigns.
The super PACs are emerging as an ever-widening loophole in US law that sets limits on contributions to campaigns, supposedly to limit corruption, but no limit to spending in an election. The Supreme Court ruled that any cap on spending would violate the First Amendment of the US Constitution.
So that means there's no limit on how much a super PAC can receive. Again, if I was a billionaire, and some of them are doing this, I can give $50 million to a super PAC that can then use that money directly on an ad. But of course, there are ways to figure out how to place the best ads. So independence is not as independent as the law seems to say it is.
It would surprise no one to find a level of tacit understanding, if not outright agreement, between a donor and a candidate who is benefited by the donation.
Donors give to politicians who agree with them. So if I don't want guns to be regulated, I get a lot of money from the National Rifle Association. They say, oh, Rayla Raja, he's our man because he'll pass legislation to prevent gun regulation. So they give me money, they support me. That's what's going on most of the time. The research tends to show that if I give money, I get an audience with the politicians. Certainly, politicians spend so much time raising money that they tend to meet with donors at events. And what happens is they spend a lot of time with these folks that hear about their problems and their issues. So that is a form of influence that I think is happening in the United States.